Hey guys, Joey Sturgis here with Drumforge, and I'm going to be working with DF-XCITE today. One of my favorite plugins here at Drumforge. It's really cool. Allows you to do a lot of different things in a lot of different ways, and it's kind of hard to explain, so I'm going to demonstrate it. DF-XCITE is built on a multiband concept so that you can work with different types of sound sources in different ways. We all know that kick drums and snare drums are very different sound sources from each other. So DF-XCITE allows you to work with those different sound sources by splitting the frequency bands into different sections, and we've kind of set that up for you in a preset oriented way. You'll see that when I break into this song that I'm about to work with, I can treat my kick drums and my snare drums optimally using that feature. Now I'm working with this song by Blue Stolly, which is a cross between EDM and rock, so it presents some interesting challenges, and we're going to solve those challenges using DF-XCITE. Alright, so here's our session. I'm just going to play this section of the song for you, and right now there's no DF-XCITE on it, so we're just going to hear exactly as I have it mixed right now. Let's check it out. So just to show you exactly what's going on here drum-wise, I'm going to take these three tracks we have and mute them so you can see that there's not really much drums going on other than these three tracks. So yeah, there's some cymbals in there, but we're not going to be messing with cymbals. We're going to be working with this kick, this snare, and this loop. So let's check out what the kick actually sounds like with nothing on it. All right, pretty basic like 808 kick sample or something like that. So here's DF-XCITE that I've put on it. I've kind of pre-mixed it already. I'll show you why I did what I did. So the mode that we're using is EDM kick. Now this mode was designed to work with sampled kicks for the electronic genre, which is kind of a broad thing, but we definitely tried to focus on the frequencies that you would encounter on a sample versus you would an acoustic kick, which is kind of a different vibe. So let's hear what it sounds like with DF-XCITE on. And with it off. Now the thing that's really cool about the adjustment I've made here is I've turned off this band of frequencies completely. So this band is just completely disabled, which is actually kind of like doing a really big EQ subtraction in that area of frequencies. So if I was to turn it on, you can hear the difference of it being on and being off. So when I increased my low mid band and my treble band, I felt like this band needed to be taken away because it wasn't really adding anything to the sound that I wanted to hear. Now I decided to use the American mode for the drive and the low mid band range, and I'll show you the difference of the American mode versus the vintage and the extreme. So the extreme mode kind of introduces a low-mid distortion that I really don't want to hear. The vintage mode isn't really powerful enough, so the American mode is exactly what I'm looking for. I don't have very much drive, just about 7 there, but I'll bring the drive back down to 0 and slowly bring it up to 7 so you can hear what it's doing. Now what's really cool about that is in the mix, it makes that kick stand out a lot more. It makes it jump out of the speakers and come through, basically punching through the whole rest of the mix. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like when I bring it into the mix with DF-XCITE. So let me turn DF-XCITE off, we'll play the kick, and then halfway through, I'll bring it back in. As you can hear, the kick just jumps right out of the mix, and DF-XCITE makes that possible with just a few tiny little adjustments. Let's move on to the snare. All right, so this snare right now is going through JST clip mainly for gain structuring and also probably a little tiny bit of clipping that adds just a little nice bit of saturation to that snare. So let's hear what the snare sounds like with no DF-XCITE on it. So it's actually kind of like a snare and a clap at the same time. So what I did with DF-XCITE on this snare clap sample is I went through and put it on EDM snare clap mode, and then adjusted the drive on all of my bands and set my distortion modes on each band. Let's hear what it sounds like with it on. And just to remind you, here's what it sounds like with it off. Now when you compare those two in solo, there's not a huge difference that immediately jumps out at you. But let me show you what the difference is when I play it in the mix. So here's with DF-XCITE off. Now with it on. The low mid band really adds that extra punch. The high mid band kind of makes it jump out and makes it more clear. I'm kind of cranking the treble band here in extreme mode to get a little bit of extra rasp on that snare, but I'm turning my mix knob down so that it doesn't really overwhelm you with the sound. Finally, we have this drum loop track. Let's listen to it without DF-XCITE on. Now this kind of came pre-clipped and pre-distorted, but in order to make it jump out in the mix, I wanted to use DF-XCITE with the drum group / drum room mode. This mode is kind of made for a broadband instrument, so if you have a drum loop or something, it's really nice to use that mode because the frequency ranges are split a little bit more evenly. So let's check out how it sounds with my DF-XCITE processing turned on. And with it off. So basically, a lot of what we accomplish is we kind of warm it up a little bit, and that creates extra density and allows it to kind of jump out of the mix. So let's hear with the DF-XCITE on in the mix. All right, now let's compare what it sounds like with DF-XCITE off on all 3 tracks, and then I'll turn it on for all 3 tracks. So here it is off. All right, now let's turn it on. There's my demonstration of DF-XCITE and some of what it can do. It's a very powerful plugin. Check it out at drumforge.com. Thanks for watching.